the Creator himself.
The sad fall of the Tower of Babel, the shocking story of Nebuchadnezzar, Nimrod, and Babylon.
And if this continues, there will be no restriction on whatever they attempt to do.
One of the earliest stories in the Bible is that of the Tower of Babel. What happened to the people is as sad as it is shocking. The story connects three significant figures: the Nebuchadnezzar, Nimrod, and the Antichrist. That's right, the Antichrist is tied to the awful tragedy of the Tower of Babel. Let's start with a mind journey to the earliest kingdoms and civilizations. Imagine the rise and fall of great cities like Babylon, led by powerful figures such as Nimrod and Nebuchadnezzar. Imagine the very first prophecy of the Antichrist and a new world order. It's all connected to the tragedy at Babel. Today, we see many people challenging God, but this rebellious seed was planted thousands of years ago. Our story begins with Nimrod, the first man to create such a kingdom, and the story of Babel, a story filled with ambition, pride, and a desire for unity that defied God's will. The story of Babylon is not just an ancient tale, but a timeless lesson. It speaks to the very core of human nature, our pride, ambition, and desire for unity and greatness. These elements, when not aligned with God's will, can only lead to downfall and destruction. The story of Babylon serves as a powerful reminder that true unity and success come from seeking God's guidance and living according to His plans. The rise of Babylon and the tragedy of Nimrod's ambition. Nimrod is a figure shrouded in both mystery and grandeur, introduced in Genesis 10, verses 8 to 10. It says, "Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord." That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The first centers of his kingdom were Babylon, Uruk, Akkad, and Calneh in Shinar. Nimrod's name has become synonymous with might and power. Described as a mighty hunter before the Lord, his skills extended far beyond hunting animals. He was a formidable leader, a unifier of people, and a builder of cities. His leadership was marked by strength and ambition, qualities that drew people to him and helped establish his authority. Nimrod's ambition led to the founding of several significant cities in the ancient world. Babel, later known as Babylon, Erech, later known as Uruk, Akkad, and Calneh, were not just cities, but symbols of human achievement and the beginnings of civilization. Each city represented a step forward in human organization and collective effort. They were centers of culture, trade, and power. These were great achievement, but Nimrod's ambition was insatiable. The crowning jewel of Nimrod's ambition was the city of Babel, later known as Babylon. Within this city, the people conceived a grand project, the Tower of Babel. This historically famous tower was intended to reach the heavens, a symbol of human capability and unity. According to the Bible, the people said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Genesis 11, verse 4. Their desire to build the tower was rooted in ambition and pride. They wanted to create a monument to their achievements, to unify themselves in defiance of God's command to spread out and fill the earth. This act of building the tower was more than just an architectural feat and ambition. It was an expression of human defiance against divine will. But God's response to this defiant ambition was swift and wrathful. God saw the city and the tower the people were building. Understanding the potential for even greater disobedience and arrogance if they remained united in this endeavor, He decided to intervene. In Genesis 11, verses 5 to 7, it says, but the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." God's intervention at Babel was both an act of judgment and mercy. By confusing their language, he halted their rebellious project and scattered them across the earth. This scattering fulfilled his original command to fill the earth, though it was done through divine correction rather than human obedience. The Tower of Babel would have been a never-ending project that would have prevented the people from realizing their true potential. As we now know, there is no way the people could have built a tower to reach God as they intended. The heavens are expansive and endless. If even today we do not know the true extent of our own galaxy, it is clear that Nimrod's Tower of Babel was a fool's errand. It could only have ended in doom. Nimrod's story and the Tower of Babel teach us about the dangers of pride and the limits of human ambition. They remind us that our achievements, no matter how grand, must be in accordance with God's will. When we pursue greatness without considering his plans, we risk not only failure, but also his corrective intervention. The Tower of Babel was not just an architectural endeavor, but a symbol of human pride and ambition. Genesis 11 verses 1 to 4 tells us, "Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, 'Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly.' They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, 'Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth.' The tower was intended to reach the heavens, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. The people wanted to make a name for themselves, ensuring their legacy would be remembered. The use of baked bricks and tar for mortar signifies their technological advancement and ability to work collectively towards a grand objective. However, God saw the potential danger in this unchecked human ambition. By confusing their language, he disrupted their ability to collaborate, thereby halting the construction of the tower. This act of divine intervention emphasized that human ambition must align with divine will, and that there are limits to what humanity can achieve on its own. With their language confused, the people could no longer understand one another. This led to confusion and chaos, causing them to abandon the project and scatter across the earth. Genesis 11 verses 8 to 9 states, "So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth." This scattering fulfilled God's original command to spread out and fill the earth, albeit through divine correction rather than voluntary obedience. The confusion of languages served as a permanent reminder of the limits of human endeavor and the necessity of humility before God. The unfinished Tower of Babel stands as a powerful symbol of human limitations. It reminds us that no matter how advanced or unified we may become, our efforts must align with God's will. The tower's incompletion underscores the futility of human pride and the importance of seeking divine guidance in all our undertakings. The story is a profound lesson in humility and the dangers of unchecked ambition. It teaches us that while unity and progress are important, they must be pursued within the framework of God's will. Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon's pride. King Nebuchadnezzar, one of the most famous rulers of ancient Babylon, ascended to the throne around 605 BC. His reign marked the zenith of Babylonian power and splendor. Nebuchadnezzar is often remembered for his military conquests, extensive building projects, and, notably, his immense pride, which ultimately led to his downfall as described in the book of Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar's achievements were vast and impressive. Under his rule, Babylon became the most magnificent city of the ancient world. However, it was this very grandeur that led to Nebuchadnezzar's downfall. In Daniel 4, verse 30, we hear the king's boastful declaration, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence, by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" This statement captures the essence of Nebuchadnezzar's pride. He viewed himself as the ultimate architect of Babylon's glory, attributing the city's greatness solely to his own power and wisdom, neglecting the sovereignty of God. But no matter the grandeur of any, they are subservient to the will of the Almighty God. Nebuchadnezzar's pride did not go unnoticed by God. The king had a troubling dream that none of his wise men could interpret. Finally, he called upon Daniel, known for his wisdom and ability to interpret dreams. It turns out that Nebuchadnezzar's dream was a warning. Despite Prophet Daniel's warning, Nebuchadnezzar's pride remained unchecked. 1 year later, while walking on the roof of his palace and admiring his accomplishments, he declared his own greatness. Immediately, a voice from heaven proclaimed the fulfillment of the dream's prophecy. Nebuchadnezzar was driven from his palace, losing his sanity and living like a beast for 7 years. During this period, Nebuchadnezzar experienced the ultimate humbling. His hair grew like the feathers of an eagle, and his nails like the claws of a bird. At the end of the appointed time, he looked up to heaven, and his sanity was restored. Nebuchadnezzar then praised, exalted, and honored the King of Heaven, acknowledging that everything God does is right and all his ways are just. Nebuchadnezzar's restoration came with the recognition of God's sovereignty. He declared, "Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of Heaven, because everything he does is right and all his ways are just. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble." Daniel 4, verse 37. Throughout the Bible, Babylon is more than just a city. It is a symbol of human rebellion, pride, and the pursuit of power apart from God. From Genesis to Revelation, Babylon represents the epitome of human ambition and defiance against divine authority. In the Old Testament, Babylon is often associated with oppression and idolatry. The city becomes synonymous with the enemies of God's people, standing in stark contrast to Jerusalem, the city of God. It becomes a metaphor for the ultimate defeat of evil and the triumph of God's kingdom. The book of Revelation provides a vivid depiction of Babylon as a spiritual entity representing the corrupt world system opposed to God. Revelation 17 and 18 describe Babylon the Great, a figure of immense wealth, power, and moral decay. She's portrayed as a prostitute, symbolizing the seductive allure of materialism, immorality, and false religion. In Revelation 17, Babylon is described as the great prostitute who sits on many waters. She is arrayed in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold and precious stones, holding a golden cup filled with abominations. This imagery highlights the opulence and moral corruption of the world system she represents. Babylon's story remains highly relevant today as it mirrors contemporary issues of pride, materialism, and moral decay. The world still grapples with the allure of power, wealth, and self-reliance, often at the expense of spiritual and moral integrity. The rise and fall of Babylon serve as a timeless reminder that no human achievement, no matter how grand, can stand against God's ultimate authority. In our own lives, we must constantly evaluate whether our ambitions and actions align with God's will, or if we are building our own Tower of Babel. The stories of Nimrod and Nebuchadnezzar illustrate the perils of pride. Nimrod's attempt to build a tower to the heavens, Nebuchadnezzar's boastful declaration of his accomplishments led to divine judgment. We are reminded that our strength and wisdom are limited, and we must seek God's guidance in all things. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this channel, like and share this video.